to make it easy and share the link.
And well, if you comment on the thing too, I'll comment on the thing just
Yeah,
because,
I'll do that too.
because people are tagged in that one.
Yeah.
La la la. Well, here we are. All right, we're gonna get it. The party started, and we're gonna open the doors for all the party people to come in. And join these party people. Hello, I am Kat Udare, psychic empath and psychic wrangler. Before we see who I've wrangled into today's show, welcome to Third Eye Salon, where in each and every week we take a fresh and deep look between the veils of reality, and why today we're looking between the veils of 2023 with none other than astro medium Chystopher Handcock. And not only that, we are also going to be doing our live drawing for all of the winners who entered in the drawing for the raffle last week to yesterday to last night. Amazing. We have 283 entries. Woot! I'm so honored and so pleased and so grateful. So I'm going to switch this over into Brady Bunch view. So Jason, stop picking your nose. No, I'm just kidding. So let us say hello to everybody. Let's say hello to psychic and conscious business coach Lynda Colter-Bergh.
Hi, everybody. It's going to be such an amazing new year. I feel like there's shedding going on, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys. So I can't wait to hear what Chystopher has to say, and I can't wait for you guys to get some amazing gifts.
Nice. All right. Well, then let me tell you, we've got all of our links down below. We have got the links for everybody here. So if you want to reach out to anyone from the show today, you are welcome to do that. If you want to donate to the show and buy us a coffee, that is fantastic. We're on Spotify and we are on Apple. We're on all of the other major, podcast outlets. And let's also say hello to, let's say hello to Chystopher first. Hello, Chystopher. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Doing great. I'm so happy that you're here for this. I think Chystopher is going to be coming in and alternating with Jaylene Tracy. So if you've been loving Jaylene's mantis messages, we're going to alternate with Chystopher. So he's going to do a forecast every other month to give Jaylene. Well, so they both have like some variation in the schedule. And so I'm super stoked about that. And this is sort of the christening of that. And we'll be looking forward to regular updates from Chystopher, which is just going to be a blessing for everyone. And let's also say hello to the lovely Angela and the lovely Jason. How are you two kids doing?
Magical.
Doing well this morning. Excited for Chystopher's predictions and astrology updates. Yes.
Right, and Jason agrees. All right.
Yes, very much so. I'm waiting to hear how Gemini is getting new love this year.
Oh, Lord. We can definitely go there.
Awesome. Well, I am going to share Chystopher's bio because he's been on the show before, but he does so much. It's good to know. Before I do that, though, I want to let you know that we are affiliates for Surfshark, and I've been using Surfshark for the last 2 years. Their VPN, which stands for Virtual Private Network, and I love it. And what Surfshark does is it protects all of your devices from one account from viruses, malware, data leaks, privacy threats, as well as if you are like looking at streaming services and you change the country, then you can see what those countries have in their streaming service platform. So it also lets you see what other countries are watching, which is cool and fun. So down below we have a link, and it will give you 84% off for the first 26 months, and you get the first 2 months free if you want to check it out and see if it's a fit for you. It's how I got involved in Surfshark, and I love it, and I would not go back. So with that, let us talk about Chystopher. I will flip over into into speaker view. Chystopher is a Chironic healer, plant medicine facilitator, psychic medium, and intuitive astrologer who works closely with lightworkers, empaths, and starseeds to help them navigate their ascension and awakening process. As a living embodiment of the Chiron, the wounded healer, Chystopher is passionate about assisting clients in activating their highest potential and reconnecting them back to nature and their purpose. And I recently just attended Chystopher's talk. He gave a big talk on plant medicine, extremely informative and very inclusive and very inviting. So he's just got great content out there. So give us a thumbs up if you're excited to hear about what's coming for 2023, or if you're here if you're here to win in the raffle. Let's go ahead and crack it open, Chystopher. Where would you like to start in 2023?
Well, the first thing I'll say is 2022 was such a big year, and in many ways it was bigger energetically under the surface than 2020. So before we move into 2023, I do want to kind of back it up a little bit and move us back. Let's go back 10 years when the solar system began moving through a very highly charged particle environment of the galaxy, which coincided with the winter equinox in 2012. And then from that point forward, this mass awakening and shift that we're going through, and the increases in solar flare activity and Schumann resonance and so-called ascension symptoms, which have been going on and been experienced for thousands of years, not just after 2012 with #ascension symptoms. But all of this happening, I mean, this has been quite a decade that we've moved through, because it was just shortly after a huge economic crisis, which occurred in 2008 when Pluto went into Capricorn. And so in 2023, what we've seen over the last few years and leading into 2023 is the main key player behind all of this. It's really all of them out there, all four of them, but it's Pluto. So we're going to talk a lot about Pluto, because Pluto is the star of 2023, and that doesn't always deliver a fun, lighthearted, soft movie. It's going to be raging. There is a storm. There is a destruction. There is a crack in the foundation that must be addressed. And so we moved into 2020 when we experienced the Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter conjunction in Capricorn, which was major. There were 6 transits or energies in 2020 that were extremely rare, including the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction on the winter equinox in 2020, things that were just so poetically and synchronistically well planned and thought out. That conjunction completely destroyed, if you will, the fabric of much of our society and our structures, and it was always going to, especially for the United States, because Pluto, where Pluto was on the day of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, it was this past year. So it takes about 250 years roughly for Pluto to get around the sun. And in 2022, on 2/22/2022, Pluto got to the point in the zodiac, which is 27 degrees, I can't remember the minutes, of Capricorn, where it was when we signed the Declaration of Independence. So in 2022, although we didn't have these major planetary energies the way we did in 2020, causing a huge, massive global shift, in another way, we as a United States went through our Pluto return, which is once every 250 years, if you will. So this is the first Pluto return that we've had since this country began. So all the themes, all the unevolved aspects, darker, more shadow aspects of this country must come to the surface, because this country was founded on supremacy, theft, so many unevolved human traits that we're now really seeing come to the surface. So many people thought, it's 2 years after 2020, we should be coming up by now. 2020 was out with the old, 2021 was in with the new. It was the year of Aquarius. I mean, it was just Aquarius, 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 and that was excellent. But now we've moved into this dip energetically and astrologically that we just have to move through, and it's affecting us economically, but it's really, for those of us who are highly sensitive empaths, really affecting us on a collective level emotionally. Anytime you hear Pluto, I want you to imagine a caterpillar crawling and creating a chrysalis for itself. Pluto, his plan is to destroy And that sounds scary, and we need it to sound scary because he also represents collective unconscious fears and unevolved behavioral patterns and soul contracts and things that are very highly evolved and on another level that it's very hard for us to understand. So what we're moving through right now is a huge collective dark night of the soul. And so every one of you are experiencing things that you're not telling people about, and you're keeping it to yourself for a very small group, or not even giving the full extent of what you're going through because you're nervous and you're not really sure what you're going through, and you're hoping it will pass, and it will. So if this is as bad as it's going to get when I say bad, I don't like using words like that. If this is as challenging as it's going to get energetically, if we were looking at a graph, there's always a increase and a flux happening. But if this is the lowest point that we're going to reach for the next several thousand years, I think that we're good. Smoke your weed, drink, do it. Don't try to ascend. It's already happening for you. And it's 12:12 where I am right now. So as we move into 2023, it's really important that we take a look at where we've been, because everyone thinks we went backwards. And that's exactly what we were supposed to do on the turn of the spiral, was we returned to an area that we've returned to before, and Pluto was the main catalyst behind this. But on the turn of that spiral, we've come back to the east, if you will, but we're higher up. There's a higher frequency. There's a new vantage point. And so this new vantage point we have is filled at the moment with fear, doubt, lack. And those are we have to face them. Pluto is about you facing your unconscious, which means you were never conscious of this fear or this behavior. It was unbeknownst to you until now. He is an unearther. It is an unearther, and it's going to bring things to the surface. And Pluto is not about destruction the way that we think destruction or death and rebirth. It's there are some universes in our multiverse that are in a state of decay, would look like static energy on a computer or a television. And then you have universes like ours, which are in a state of bloom and in a state of creation. Both are fine and good. Okay. So what Pluto's main message to everyone is, can I cuss on here?
Yeah.
Let go, bitch. I'm not kidding, because he will cut your hand off. And now everyone, I just want you, when I say it like this, everyone goes through, when Pluto moves into Aquarius, every single fiber of matter on this planet will feel that energy and be affected by it in some transient cosmic way, I'm sure. But then you have specific transits to you that are Plutonic or Pluto transits that are completely life transformative, and they're long. People think, oh my God, when's this Pluto shit going to be over? It's years. Okay? It is years, and which it should be. How can evolution not take years? And he is the evolver.
I just want to hop in, if that's okay, to expand a little bit in that and flip it around. And you have a sippy poo of water. So I because what I see also, like, in terms of, if this is Pluto coming back from the time when America was founded, that was also a time of split, where it was also people declaring their independence, coming into their power, saying, we're not doing it that way anymore. We're not bound to authority anymore. We're going to do something else now. And also, I feel like people, because 2022 was incredibly intense for me, and it was literally like, if you hang on to this fear, you're going to die. The fear is death. Like, let go of the fear so you can have life. So I think for light workers, there's like, in mass, there's this thing of like people being in fear. But I feel like for those who are surrendering into the work, like, the thing is to transmute the fear. The fear isn't the ball for you to hang on to and shake with. That's what you'll see in mass for the ones who are here to transmute energy. The ball is there for you to hold and transmute so others can realize they can do it as well. That's my take on it.
And some people who are going through a really hard time right now might feel like we're spiritually bypassing. I don't care, because that's the truth. What you said was the truth. Now, surrender is the main theme of the energies right now. It's surrender.
Yes,
and
it
we
is.
all love that because we're doing breath work and going to retreats and doing plant medicine. So surrendering is actually something that we're learning how to do because no one ever told us how to do that. Did anyone ever tell you how to brace yourself for a car accident? I'm sure if they taught you, you did everything right in that moment. You know, sometimes you just don't know how to handle something as it's coming. And with Pluto energies, Pluto, as I was saying earlier, is about transmutation because that's what happens in the chrysalis. That is not a caterpillar coming out of that cocoon or chrysalis. It is no longer a caterpillar. It is something else entirely.
It's
Made of the
dragon.
same. It's a dragon. And you mentioned earlier about what was happening in this country when the Declaration of Independence was signed. And it's interesting because Pluto was in Capricorn, but just shortly after that, it went into Aquarius. Just shortly. So when planets get to the 29th degree of a sign, which is the last degree, everyone has their own theories about this, but what I have felt into it is that the energy of the next sign, truly, if you want to use the word cusp, is already coming into effect, especially at that point, because it was at 27 degrees. There was already this shifting into that energy. The last few degrees of Capricorn are very Aquarian because they're about to become Aquarius. The zodiac is an entire pie. It's split, but it's an evolution of something. It's not different energies that are separate. So Pluto moving into Aquarius in 2023 is the biggest thing that could happen in our lifetime. It is huge, and it's going to change not only our country, because the United States affects the rest of the world. That's what was so influential about this Pluto return. And people think, oh, it's going to, Pluto in Capricorn, it's going to affect our monetary systems, Wall Street, corporations, politicians, world leaders. Look at what has happened since the year 2008 until now. Pluto stays in signs for a long time. Pluto will be in Aquarius from 2023 and 2024, because it's going to back up into Capricorn again due to its retrograde. But it'll stay there once it goes back into Aquarius in 2024 until 2044. Okay, so Pluto in Aquarius is huge because it's going to be the main theme of the next 20 years. And we'll get into that. But as we move forward, I don't know if you all have ever seen the musical Hair, but it is definitely the dawning of the age of Aquarius. And the planet, one of the most powerful planets and influential to the global collective, is about to move into the sign in which we're about to move into the age of as an entire solar system. So this is a big, this truly is the sunrise of the age of Aquarius, not the dawn. That happened hundreds of years ago when we started printing things and sharing Bibles and communities started traveling to each other. Although we don't know when the age of Aquarius will begin, because these ages are 2100 years. So again, the gradients, what was the word I'm looking for? The crossover is a lot longer. We started to see Aquarian energies happen when we started to build cities. The 20th century happened. Televisions, phones, computers, that is Aquarius energy. That's proof that it's happening. And so when Pluto goes in, there's going to be a major psychic surgery that he's going to do. And I'll go into more of that in a little bit, but that is something everyone should brace themselves for. But like a roller coaster, like brace yourself to evolve and go upside down, but also come up again in ways you've never before.
Well,
You weren't
surrender.
able to before. We didn't have these energies available to us before.
and surrender as opposed to embrace. You know what I mean? Because like it's like when people are in a car accident, it's like if they're it's the people who are their bodies are relaxed because they're unconscious or maybe a little drunk or whatever,
Good point.
that their bodies don't have the damage because they are not resisting what's happening. If you surrender what's coming through, you can actually channel what's coming through and you can ride the wave as opposed to being like punched by it. Because the punching is like, let go. It's going to keep hurting. And when you just let go, it's like, oh, why was I punching myself? You know, like I can ride this. Hop in, Angela.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's kind of a call to see things differently, to alter your perspective on how you see change. Because if you choose to see it, if you choose not to see the illusions for what they truly are, then it makes it that much harder to go through it. I think the call in this case with all the Pluto energy that's present is to stand and face what you believe to be your fear, because it's in the standing and facing it that you see it for what it truly is. You see the illusion for what it truly is, but you have to have the courage to stand and face it. In normal circumstances, the initial reaction, the gut reaction, is to suppress it or to turn and run away from it, to resist it because it doesn't feel good. But the call in this case is to turn and face it, because whether you choose to face it today or tomorrow, it's needing to be seen. It's going to be seen. It's going to push you until you choose to see it. So it's not going away because it can't get carried forward as we evolve, right? So you have to have the courage to face what is coming up. And it's in that courage to face it. It's in that willingness to stand and face what doesn't feel good that you allow it to dissipate. That's where the transmutation actually happens.
And that is the will is one of the words we use with Pluto. It represents our collective will, where Mars more addresses your individual willpower. And Pluto is power. It is a very powerful energy. It's also very destructive. But again, that's what power does. That's what moves mountains and creates universes. So there's also what you said was standing there and facing it, which is very hard to do because, when I work with clients and I'm like, all you have to do is in your plant medicine journey, for instance, just face the fear. Of course you're feeling afraid because that's what's surfacing and purging. It's hard for people to wrap their mind around that, to understand like, oh no, I can't do this, I'm afraid. Don't you see that the fear you're feeling is actually the sickness you're about to like throw up and get rid of? If you would like let it just be there for about 20 minutes without running away and I can just hold your hand. I mean, they don't get it. They think because the fear chemical is designed to get you to go away or make it stop. So it's let's all give ourselves a break for this whole healing. And none of these humans were ever prepared for this mass awakening and these major shifts and these things that are about to happen and are happening to our economy and the planet itself. But you also mentioned earlier, like seeing a new perspective. And that makes me think of Mercury retrograde, which we're currently in right now. And Mercury retrograde started 2 days ago. And whenever Mercury is retrograde, because Mercury represents the mind, the way that you process information from a more mental standpoint or a data-oriented, compartmentalized, analytical mind. When Mercury is retrograde, it's like the Hanged Man card in the tarot deck, where there's nothing wrong with being hung upside down. It gives you a new perspective. We're going to see things over the next couple of weeks as we move into the first part of 2023 that we didn't see before. And we've got a assembly, I'm going to call it, of Capricorn planets. The Sun is currently in Capricorn. Venus is currently in Capricorn, Mercury, and Pluto. So having Pluto being there in Capricorn as well, there's something we're starting this year off with that feels like we're restructuring, is what I just heard. Like new cement is going to be put down, but we've got to crack the foundation first and break it all up into rubble. And Capricorn energies are very stabilizing. So this 2023, although the year does not start until March 21st, Okay. So to make sure everyone's clear about that, this made up January 1st thing, although it's made up and all that, and it's, Gregorian calendar and all of that,
Oh.
it's still real because we all buy into it and we all participate in it. So starting this 2023 off with all of this Capricorn energy is like, with Mercury being retrograde and Mars being retrograde, starting this year off, it feels like we don't really know where to go. We're taking detours. We're getting tired more easily. We're actually just feeling more burned out, and like we don't necessarily feel like we can take another year of this. But this is going to move rather quickly. Several things are going to happen in January. Mars will station retro shade. This is the shadow period. So Mars will no longer move backward on January 12th and enter retro shade, which is the post-retrograde shadow period, where it's going to get back on track. There's always a pre and post shadow period, which you feel those energies too. So we have to count them. We've been feeling this Mercury retrograde energy for about 2.5 weeks for sure, building up into the actual U-turn and heading backward. But once Mars is direct by the middle of January, your physical energy will lighten. You will start to have more bursts of creativity. You'll actually, I'm hearing sex will also improve, because there are people in the collective which are having sexual, like they're getting drained by sex. Yep. Let's get back on track there. So, and then on January 18th, Mercury will station retro shade and be direct. So by the end of January, you've got Mars moving forward again. That's our physical energy. That's what gets our blood pumping. And then you've got Mercury still in Capricorn. Thank you. Everyone's like, oh God, Mercury in Capricorn. Yes, this is a time where you can really be too realistic about things right now. We're going to start off 2023 with a lot of realism. Okay, there's a lot of focusing on our bills, our long-term plans, where we're going next. How do I build this business? How do I scale and get a team in place? Capricorn, Capricorn, Capricorn. Big dick CEO energy. Okay, it is. And so you can use that energy rather than beating yourself up and saying, I failed. Look at the top of the mountain and say, I want that. That is your choice. And I'm not saying that I always choose what I want, but know that these things are happening as we move forward. Another thing that I want people to pay attention to about January is it's going to feel like a soft month, but you're actually going to feel like, okay, things are getting back to whatever a normal would be for you. And this is internally, not out here, because everything keeps going to hell out here. You think it's actually really wonderfully reorganizing itself. But Juno. So Juno is an energy in astrology that is not talked about as much, but Juno is the planet of marriage, relationships, long-term partnerships, contracts. And Juno was in Pisces the entire year of 2022. And that is very rare for that to happen. Juno's going to be in Aries for 2 months, not 12. So these planets, based on their orbit, will spend a certain amount of time in one sign and another time in another, if their orbit is not perfectly, if it is not a perfect circle. But Juno enters Aries on January 13th, and Juno entering Aries is going to completely shift our relationship dynamics. All of 2022, when you think of Pisces energy, you think of dreams, illusions, fantasies, mysticism. It's ruled by Neptune. So having Juno in Pisces, our relationships, there was a lot of boundary issues that we dealt with in 2022. People crossing boundaries and people not even knowing where the boundaries are. You not knowing where your boundaries are and your standards are. Them becoming much foggier and the veil thinning, because Pisces energy wants to unify. So this is not a bad thing. But what other planets in Pisces right now? Neptune. So Neptune and Juno have also been doing this dance. So that's going to end like so abruptly in January. You're going to see a big shift within you and in all of your partnerships that are committed or are more long-term, ones that you keep returning to with an expectation. That's really Juno energy, marriage. You all are going to instead of this like weird, I don't know why I'm feeling what you're feeling, I can't tell what's going on anymore, why aren't we communicating the same way anymore? We're going to slam back into our bodies and into our ego, and we're going to start 2023 off really becoming clear about what we want in our relationships.
So, Mr. Man, I'm going to hop in so we can do a little bit of a drawing action here. And then I want to, the lovely Laura Holland asked a question. I want to ask her, make sure we get to her question. And then we will hop back on the astrology train. And I want to be like, I want to call it like Aries is being shady, or, you know, Mars is being shady. I like the idea of
Mars
it being
is shady, yes.
Mars is being shady. So what I'm going to do, y'all, is we've got 5 names in here, which are mine, Rosetta, Miss Angela, Lynda, and Jason. And so whoever I pull out of the magic hat here, can you see that? So whoever I pull out of the magic hat, that's the gift that's going to be given away. And then I've got my big box of names over here. So just everyone tune in to what you want to have happen, and then let go. Like, tune in, feel it, and then let go and let the energy flow, and great things are about to occur. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so we got
surrender.
We've got, it's Lynda's gift is first. All right. So
Somehow
Lynda,
I
this
knew that.
because you're psychic, you're really freaking psychic. So Lynda's reading. So tell us about your reading, what your gift is, Lynda.
So I'm offering to do a pendulum reading with everyone who wins, with everyone for the winner. And actually, I also have the deal that if you decide you want to gift one, you get yours for free. So it is a pendulum reading where we go through some change that you're really thinking on and work through that. So really excited.
Nice. All right, here we go. Perfect person for this is Angela. You won a pendulum reading. So you can follow up on that, and you can get one and then give one away.
Nice. That works.
Now, do you want me to draw a second one, Miss Lynda, since a co-host one?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
Angela, and then let's give one away to everyone else.
Yes.
Awesome.
Brianna, or Brianna Wortman. So she is a regular.
Yay.
So excellent work, Brianna. Look at you. Do you know her already, Lynda? Are you buddies with Brianna?
I'm just gonna leave it with, I'm just on our chats. Yep.
Okay. All right. All right, sweet. Well, congratulations, both Angela and Brianna. And now we'll hop back in. I'm gonna connect with Miss Laura's question. And hopefully this isn't, I mean, we're all a little ADD here. We can derail and come right back. How will this affect people with Aquarius sun sign? Easier or more difficult times ahead for them? Asks Laura, who's apparently an Aquarius.
So it would really depend. This Pluto transit is really, unless you have something in your chart between 24 degrees of Capricorn, Aries, Cancer, and Libra, if you have something between 24 degrees of those 4 cardinal signs and about 3 degrees of Leo, Scorpio, Taurus, and Aquarius. So again, you would have to go to your chart and refer, unless you're like me who has it memorized, you know. Come on, people, you should know your charts. I'm just messing with you. If you have anything between those points, you are going to be affected, but you already are. So when Pluto goes into Aquarius, you won't start feeling it then. That's just when it crosses that energetic threshold. And there's definitely a global collective activation that will happen. But for instance, in my astrological chart, I have the planet Juno at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So when Pluto reaches 0 degrees of Aquarius in March and April, Pluto will activate my Juno. That's specific to me. So you would need to book a reading or really understand your chart to understand how these energies are going to affect you personally on an individual level.
That
I have a
makes sense.
question, and hopefully it's not a stupid question. I'm not familiar with a planet called Juno. Like what?
Okay. So it's an asteroid. It's not technically a planet,
Okay.
but it's floating there and it continues to, and it's doing something. So I just call them planet or a planetoid.
I didn't know
Yes, but
either.
it's
I thought Juno and Jupiter were like interchangeable, I guess, in my mind. So I was just making shit up in my
Yeah,
Yeah,
not a
Juno is
stupid
an
question.
asteroid.
I didn't know
It's
either.
similar to like
So-
Chiron, because Chiron
Chi-
isn't a planet
yes.
either, right?
Well,
Okay.
we've got in this solar system different types of asteroids. Some of them are planetoids. They're perfectly sphere. They look like a moon. Like Ceres is an asteroid, and she's one of the ones I'm going to talk about in February. Ceres is larger than Pluto in mass, and so why would Pluto have an effect but not Ceres? So it's not about what we think. It's about there being a grain of sand on the record when you're trying to play it. Like there is an obstacle, there's an object in motion there. And its geometry comes into play once it enters our solar system. So Juno is more like Ceres because Chiron is part of a class of asteroids known as the centaurs, which they're wanderers because they were not a part of our solar system originally. They wandered in and got locked in. So you could say Chiron came in between because it orbits between Saturn and Uranus. It came in and locked itself in between the old structure ways and the new Aquarian ways. Because before you can get from the past to the future, or before you can restructure and get from structure into new or innovation, you have to heal. Something has to transmute. And so when you use the word transmutation, always think of Chiron. When you think of Pluto, use the word transformation, because something that transmute is frequency. Transformation is an entirely new organism. So Chiron is the transmuting energy here. Now, as we move into are we good here before I go on to February? Please.
Hop into February.
So there's quite a few things going on in February, but I'm going to just talk about more the larger energies at play, not ones that happen often or are not happening for a long time. So you may notice I'm skipping over things if you are well versed in this. But Ceres will go retrograde on, this is February 3rd. And Ceres, just for everyone to know, in your birth chart, Ceres is the Earth Mother, and it shows us your parenting style. How do you take care of yourself? How do you nurture others? You can say, oh, I thought that was my moon. No, Ceres is the asteroid most related to the moon. And it tells us the moon is how you get your emotional needs met on a subconscious level. It's what you're feeling at all times. It's not something you're consciously doing. Ceres is more how you purposefully parent, nurture, how you take care of your pets and your plants. All of that's very Ceres energy. So when Ceres is retrograde from February to March or April, you will have an invitation to restructure your self-care and to look at how you are taking care of your physical body, but also how you're taking care of your mind. And then also in February, Vesta will enter Aries. So we've got Juno entering Aries, Vesta, which is another asteroid, and we love Vesta in Aries. So there's going to be a big fiery energy building up to that spring equinox. So, and I cannot wait until March 21st. Okay. That is the new year. We can absolutely set the tone on January 1st, but that is the new year. And there's something happening then that I can't wait to talk about. But that's pretty much it for February. February, you'll feel a lightening of the energies, but also you will feel on a global collective level this pull still that we're moving toward, because there's several energies that are coming our way in March. I just want to make sure there are no questions before I go further, because March is the one.
March is the one. Nope, no questions so far. But people, if you do, our lovely members, if you do want to put question marks, big question marks in front of your question so we see it, you're welcome to do that.
Yeah, we just have a collective. How do you remember all of this?
How do I remember?
Yeah, it's a
It's like,
lot.
oh my gosh, I'm so impressed.
Mercury in Gemini.
That's how he remembers it.
Yes, it is.
Well
It is
said.
just, it's information and it's being stored. That's just how it works. So, speaking of Mercury, we start March off with Mercury entering Pisces on March 2nd. And I'm bringing that up because there's also a lot of Pisces energies that are going to build up in a short amount of time, right before Aries, obviously. But we need that in that time. And Mercury in Pisces, it's notable because just a few days later on March 7th, Saturn, who has spent the last 2 years since 2020 and 2021 in the sign of Aquarius, is going to enter Pisces as well. And that's huge. That's one of the major energies of 2023 is the shift from Saturn in Aquarius to Saturn in Pisces. So if anyone watching has Saturn in Pisces, you're about to go through a Saturn return. You're either 29 and a half to 30 or you're 58, 59. So you're about to go through a major life change. Saturn in Pisces will experience this energy for most of 2023. Saturn in Pisces is weird. That's a very weird, I don't want to say weird, that would be more Aquarius. Ungrounded. I want you to think of Saturn ruling Capricorn as this strong force, father time, structure, discipline, hard work, dedication, longevity. This realism. Saturn represents reality, physical reality, your bones, your teeth. Okay, just think about this solidity that Capricorn holds. And then Saturn moving into a sign that has no solidity. So Pisces is very ethereal. It's very starstruck. It's mystical. It's inspired. It often doesn't know how it got home once it pulls up in the driveway, okay? Because it's not in its body. Pisces lives, and many of you who are psychic are like, oh, I don't have any Pisces in my chart. You might have Sun in the 12th house, Mercury in the 12th house. You might actually have something in Pisces and just didn't know it, or you might have Cancer and Scorpio energies very strongly. So the water signs especially really work in a state of flux and fluidity, except for Scorpio. But Saturn in Pisces, it will, for us spiritual folk, I just heard it's going to help us. Yay! Because some of the other ones were much more conducive to the muggles and their life because they didn't feel it. Like, there are people who go about their life and they never have to face their fears. I mean, and not in the way that we're choosing to do in such a way. They're not healing, but, or at least consciously on their part. Saturn in Pisces is going to dissolve our need for responsibilities. It can kind of askew us away from our long-term goals and start to think about outside of time, which can be ungrounding and disorienting to business owners and people who are very structured in those ways. So over the next couple of years, we're going to be invited to look at responsibilities and long-term goals in a different way, and also the way in which we're structuring our life. Saturn in Pisces, you could say we're going to be confused. There's a lot of confusion and fog that can roll in when Neptune and Pisces get to town. Clouds, it can cloud your judgment, very much so. But also you can tune out of that need to have it all figured out because Saturn wants to see it before it believes it, and you can believe it anyway. And you can also get into a state of inspiration and creativity, which could move you towards your long-term goals. Again, you're going to have to shift something, especially for people who have like Saturn in Capricorn, Saturn in Taurus, or strong Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn placements, like myself. It could knock you off balance because you're used to going after something a certain way, or reorganizing or building your life in a certain way that this is going to challenge. Now, also, this is the month where Pluto enters Aquarius, and this is on March 23rd. This is huge. This is a really big month, so I'm just going to spend a couple more minutes because some people, I just want you all to do your own research about this. But shortly before Pluto goes into Aquarius, just a day and a half, we will have the spring equinox, which will exactly conjunct and coincide with the new moon in Aries, which is a total solar eclipse. In 2022, the north and south nodes, if I'm losing you, I'm sorry, just look it up later. The north and south nodes shifted from Gemini and Sagittarius into Taurus and Scorpio. And the north and south nodes are our indicators of where the sun and the moon will eclipse. So wherever the north node and south node are where our eclipses are going to be usually. Now, what's going to be interesting about this new moon in Aries is that the new moon in Aries will happen exactly at 29 degrees of Aries in 50 minutes. So about 5 to 10 minutes later, the moon will go into Taurus. So we're going to have a total solar eclipse in Aries, which kind of breaks the rules a little bit because it's supposed to be in Taurus and Scorpio, it's supposed to be in Taurus based on that geometry, but it's going to be in Aries. So we're having a new moon total solar eclipse in Aries, which we haven't had in years, on the spring equinox. And all new moons are about planting seeds. It's a new energy. We get that. We understand the slate wiping clean, or the energy being conducive to start something new again, or to have a new beginning. The spring equinox, Aries, the ushering in of Aries energy. Aries represents beginnings. It is the beginning of everything. It's the Big Bang. So that this is a Big Bang point that you can sit in and do a ritual and really intend. This is the new year. This is the new year you've been waiting for. This isn't going to happen again, maybe in our lifetime, to have a new moon in Aries total solar eclipse. Not all new moons are eclipses. So on the spring equinox, I want people to be very mindful of that. And then Pluto, just a couple days later, is going to enter Aquarius. And it's not going to be some earth-shattering event, because you could say Pluto's already that band of the zodiac where Pluto already is. He's already there. It's already activating. But as soon as that crosses that point, there's no turning back. Pluto will go retrograde this year and go back into Capricorn, and then finally go into Aquarius for 20 years in 2024. But I want to take you back to 2020 and give you an example of the power, not only of Aquarius energies, but of when these planets dip their toe into a sign and then retrograde back. Saturn in March of 2020 entered Aquarius, and then in May went back into Capricorn. But I want to take you back. What was happening in March of 2020? And Aquarius represents social reform, social justice. So the Black Lives Matter movement happened, or the outbreak of it in 2020 really came to a head when Saturn went into Aquarius. And then it seemed to trail off when Saturn went back into Capricorn. So know that there are going to be things that happen this year that are kind of a sneak peek of what's going to change and be destroyed over the next 20 years. And then before we leave March, I want to talk a little bit about Jupiter, because Jupiter is also one of the main stars of 2023. Jupiter will be in Aries for the beginning of this year, which we love that. Any planet in Aries is going to put you back into your ego, which you all keep trying to transcend. And I'm like, please build that ego back up, because you all are you're trying to transcend and you're trying to ascend, but you don't even, sometimes you all are too anxious to go in the grocery store. We need some Aries energy. We need some courage. We need that masculine ignition to get us started. And Jupiter will conjunct Chiron in March. So Chiron's been in Aries for some time and will continue to be, but Jupiter's going to cross over, and Jupiter is the expander. Whatever Jupiter touches, it gets expanded and grows and magnifies. Well, Chiron is our collective wound. Yay. So triggers, trauma, all of that stuff. But Jupiter is very benefic. This energy expands your mental capacity to hold more. Mercury's the lower mind, Jupiter's the higher mind. So there's a higher perspective you're going to get on your trauma and the things that need to heal within your system. Also, many people who are trying to get into healing work, I'm hearing, are also going to either, I understand, learn a new healing modality. One of you on here is already going to do that, and in that time frame as well. And then it's going to help people step into a healer role more. What do you mean by that? Healers versus doctors. I don't know what. Okay, we're going to be doing away with doctors at some point, and there will be energy healers. They're already doing this in Bali. The government uses Shiva-Murti healers. So I think that's what they mean by that. But know that that expansion that's going to take place may not feel very good at first. Okay, as that wound tries to resurface, so you've got all this Pluto energy bringing dark things. Pluto is a very taboo, shocking energy because when you think about everything that's happened over the last, since 2008, and especially over the last 10 years, so many, when you focus on Capricorn, because Pluto's been in Capricorn, so much darkness and corruption, power, control coming to the surface for us to see in ways we were never able to before, and really dark things too. Like really dark, not just the greed, but like knowing what a lot of these politicians and CEOs and, sex trafficking. And I'm trying to not go too into certain things,
but yeah,
because these things are actually really commonplace and have been for hundreds of years. And as technology, like we think, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is what was sitting under there. Okay. So Pluto's acting like a charcoal mask from hell, and all of these pimples, it's all coming to the surface. And many of us are taking it back and we're going, I want a refund on this motherfucker. You know what I mean? And I'm your Sephora clerk, and I'm here to tell you it's working. Okay. So let all of that stuff come to a head, because it was sitting under there. It was all in there. Okay. So like a blackhead, there's going to be some nastiness even within you. So you think, oh, I can't wait to hear about all the crazy stuff that happens in the world, while you start to notice some really more darker energies in you coming to the surface. And then as a light worker, starseed, empath, you'll notice that you tend to get the brunt of a lot of that. And that although you're this light worker, you also have this really other side to you. Okay. And you also have these places you like to go in your mind, especially sexually and with other people. And sometimes you can think, I'm a bad person. And I think I'm a bad person. And you're just very complex. And you're meant to, let's say someone's family line has experienced a lot of sexual abuse. And then you absorb that collectively. And for a few days, you start having weird thoughts about things. And you think, I'm going crazy. And then it goes away. These things are happening to people because it chose to move through you, because it wasn't moving out of them. Okay. And that there's no amount of sage that can stop that from happening. Okay. There's an agreement, but also there's not enough of us asking what's mine and what's theirs, what's happening here. There's also not a lot of trust happening. So I need you to understand, with Pluto going into Aquarius, Aquarius represents community, friend groups, social change. I don't want to call her the Virgin Mary. Mary came to me one time, and in a channeling or whatever that was, she took skyscrapers and she kept squishing them down, like that Pixar, that lamp that jumps on that ball in the Pixar opening. She kept trying to push them down and flatten them. And when she would do it, the building would like split off into all these different directions. And I was like, what is this? And she goes, this is the way that society should be operated, not this really bizarre, strange buildings doing
phallus
like this
after phallus after phallus after phallus.
Oh, exactly. Yes. Yes, we should be living in a big crater. If anything, a womb.
A
There's nothing
womb.
protecting us, you know what I mean? But also the way that we've structured cities are going to change. And all of you sitting around going, oh, I'm so sick of this. I wish I could just find an eco village or a commune, but at least we all smelled good and at least had internet still. That's coming. Okay. This whole hippie commune thing that happened, that was just an example of what something could be. But that type of idea, yes, maybe you're crocheting blankets and you're making the gluten-free egg rolls or whatever. We all have our place in this little village. That type of experience is going to happen more because you've got these clustering of energies, which is not great. It's very an imbalance to our ecosystem as well. So spreading energies out this way, communities shifting the way we are going to see over the next 20 years, some aspects of the human collective consciousness around technology, space travel. What does that mean? Time travel too. I don't know what that means, and just take it for what it is. Things of that nature, because they already, some of this will not be a surprise to us. Okay, Pluto and Aquarius, I'm also hearing, is going to be the turning point for contact. So open contact with other civilizations. I want to do all this. When it starts to do like that, it's someone on here, maybe not in this group, but listening needs to hear this, but there's some type of old civilization that's going to come back. I don't know what that means. Atlantis, Mu, Lemuria, something like that, okay, is going to come back.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
What I'm getting is that there'll be a discovery, like there'll be confirmation of lost civilization. Is what I'm feeling like, that'll crack the surface somewhere where it's like it gets confirmed at some level.
I don't know how to explain this. It's like
Go
our
ahead.
society's going to turn into that society. I don't know.
I get it. It's more of the technology. It's like the knowing,
Yes.
the knowledge that was possessed during that
Yes,
time.
but almost like
being remembered.
people who
Yeah.
are alive now were alive then too.
Right. Yeah.
Here.
Like we're here to
Yeah.
redo this in some way.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't really
Exactly.
know. Yeah, and I know that
Yeah.
doesn't really have anything to do with what we're talking about.
No, that's great.
That's what I get, and that's what I've been getting lately. That's kind of where I've been being led. It's like it's coming up slowly that I'm starting to remember aspects of myself then versus now, and I'm here now to complete something that was started then. It's like,
okay, so maybe
coming
that
into
was for
awareness
you.
of
They
that.
told me it was for somebody, but
Totally. Yeah.
okay,
Totally.
perfect. So just
Angela's like,
just-
that's mine.
Yep.
yeah, just if it's yours during this entire time, if it's yours, just take it. But
Yeah.
I really want to, because I'm about to go on to April, and I'm like, wait, we're talking about Pluto and Aquarius. What am I doing? I mean, we could do a 12-part series just on that. So I just wanted to illustrate as well that when you think about Pluto, just take, okay, Pluto is transformation, power, control, destruction, fears. There's a lot that falls under his umbrella, but really it's about something breaking down so it can become something else. It's about evolution. And then when you take Aquarius energy, which is a very highly evolved energy, like highly, people think Pisces is the psychic, Aquarius is also psychic. Aquarius is like those flashes of downloads that you get, insight, genius energy. Aquarius, when you look at many of our inventors, geniuses, politicians, civil rights activists, they all have rising sun or moon in Aquarius, okay? And we're going to talk a little bit about that here later due to another transit, but having this energy play out for so long as well, it's just going to be this major influx of new technologies, but also technologies that have been hidden. So you will see holographic projections, I don't know what that means. Phones that are in your hand, and I don't know what that means. Touching your hand and there's a phone. So there's things like that that appear to us to be non-physical or ethereal or magical that will be real just within the next 15 years, 7 years.
It's tremendous.
Go ahead.
No, that's great. But that's what I love so much, is that you're able to do astrology and then you're doing these psychic downloads while you're doing the astrology. So that's what makes this so rich. All right, we are going to do the next raffle winner, and so we're going to see who is the not contestant, who's the giver of the gift, and that is going to be, it's Jason. I knew it was going to be Jason. All right, so now this is Jason. Tell us about what they're going to win.
A good time. You're gonna win a good time.
Oh, baby.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put the bat signal out, and I'm gonna connect to one of your star people. I'll put it on paper for you. I'll give you a write-up with whatever information that they provide. I will say, don't expect it tomorrow or within a week. Like, you know, it may take a minute. But I'm looking forward to it.
All right, awesome, very good. All right, here we go. All right, the lucky winner is Sylvia Aparicio. Sylvia, congratulations, that's fantastic.
And I will reach out to you,
Sylvia. I'm so jealous.
To get your address and everything.
Right. Yeah, and I'll reach out. I'll connect you to, because she may not be here this morning. But I will connect you to. But that's fantastic. That's fantastic. All right. Congratulations, Miss Sylvia, and we'll do another draw a ring here in 30-ish minutes or less. And all right, take it away, Mr. Chrystopher. I'm gonna hop away for a quick moment, but take it away, Chrystopher.
Can I add something really quick, Chrystopher, of what you were saying? One of the things I've been seeing is that technology.
Now I can't hear anyone. Hold on just a second. Default speaker. Good Lord. Speaking of technology, give me a second.
Technology, Mercury in retrograde.
You can do it.
Can you hear me now? No.
Okay, I can hear you now. Yes.
You can hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
One of the things that I have been really thinking of over the next 10 years even is, I think there's going to be a big shift in housing where it really is more of communal buildings coming in that have the gardens, have the communal areas, everything's within walking distance. I think that's part of the housing solutions that we're going to have, is that it's less dependent on transportation and more dependent on each other.
Yes, and when the way that we travel around changes, and I'm not talking about you astral projectors, okay? I'm talking about these new cars that are coming our way. And yes, they do hover and don't touch the ground. And also, when you're able to get to China in 6 hours from the United States, which I don't understand why it takes 18 hours to get somewhere anyway in 2023. So once those types of things shift, we won't need to cluster everything together based on certain factors that we aren't affected by anymore. So that's also, we're going to see that happen in the next 10 years. I'm not going to say it's going to look like Back to the Future Part 2, but it will look even more futuristic than that. Whatever that means, futuristic, which is Aquarius. Aquarius represents the future. It is the future. It's our hopes, our dreams, the future. And that future timeline, that's another thing when we're working with Aquarius energy, you're working with it's a multidimensional timeline energy. Yes, Pisces, the last sign, completely turns everything into stardust again. We're just all one. Aquarius is like, hold on, before we become one again, let me fix this planet, because Aquarius is the humanitarian. Think of people like Oprah Winfrey, Aquarius, Rosa Parks, Aquarius, Barack Obama rising in Aquarius, who became the first Black president when Jupiter was in Aquarius. So I just want to illustrate how advanced this energy is, but also how rebellious. Aquarius will go against tradition just for the sake of it, because as soon as you do that, then you create a new timeline because you didn't follow one that was already created for you. Once you do that, you open up to a level of intelligence and a divine connection, which is Pisces energy, that you would not have had before. So although there's going to be so much technology coming online, you as the light worker, starseed, empath, highly sensitive person will have to make very specific decisions for yourself about what some of this technology is going to do to you, for you. And some of you may have technology cleaning your homes, and we already do, but in a much more animatronic way. So, and this can be good. So this is where we can really, we can create beings with the technology that we have now and are going to see over the next 10 to 15 years. On top of cloning and AI, there's going to be a lot of coming together of many concepts that may alarm you or that we may not be used to. And so surrendering is great, but also being decisive and knowing what's right for you or not, because there might be, like a vaccine that may not be right for you, but is right for hundreds of other people. And I'm not getting into Bill Gates and all that crap. I'm just saying you might say that doesn't feel right for me, even though I'm also not getting spiritually that it's bad. Because there's many things that people are afraid of, like transhumanism and artificial intelligence, which is inherently super cool and not bad. And really, I would love to live on a planet where these machines are running everything, because they already are, but also we just live in harmony with it. We can have that. It doesn't have to be one or the other, where we have to go barefoot again and return back to earth and we can grow our hydroponic gardens right in our kitchen, and the people who live around us, we can all participate in that, and that can be as ingrained in us as brushing our teeth. So once those types of things become more of a reality, which they already are, especially in other countries, once it becomes more of a reality, it's going to be like letting go of a slingshot. It's just boom, so fast. So just brace yourself, not in a bad way. Just know that these things will happen, and that's part of the ride. So I'm good with March. If anyone has questions, I know that's a lot.
Well, actually, yeah. Someone that's actually Sharon is asking for Angela's input on that, because I'm personally not here for transhumanism. I think that we can work with technology and AI. It doesn't have to be bad, but I'm not here for transhumanism. But Miss Angela, do you have any thoughts or any downloads that you wanted to share? And if not, that's okay.
So for me, it comes closer to our connectedness to the earth. It's like as we bring ourselves back into awareness of ourselves, we ignite the knowingness, the connections. We establish the connections that already exist within the earth. So the earth kind of comes back online in a sense, and it produces and it nurtures us in a way that it hasn't today, that it did in the past during the time of Mu and Atlantis. But then it's like it's coming back online, but we have to get in touch with ourselves first in order to be able to establish those connections within the earth and bring the earth itself back online. What you spoke to earlier, Chystopher, about that communication, like being a matter of like something in the hand, or it's almost biological, because that's the way communication happened back in those times when the earth was in its original state, I guess you could call it, right? There was a way to connect to different areas of the planet, not having to be there and not having to have something physical, some physical device. You could just tap into the field.
Yes.
I think that's kind of what's coming back into play as we get reacquainted with the self. But it starts with the self first. We can't produce it outside of us until it happens internally. So that's the work of the moment. It's where Pluto comes into play and bringing those things up to be seen, so that we can do the inner work, play those things out, and then that's how the external will come back into form, so to speak.
And that's exactly where we're moving, is that fifth dimensional consciousness, which is a reality in which everything operates out of synchronicity. There's no happenstance. If you need a pen, someone already has one in their pocket that you bumped into. Everything is divinely ordered like that in those upper frequencies, or in that dimensional plane. And definitely there is an order to the way these things should go as well. There's sorry to cut this off for a second. I want to go back to something that I said incorrectly about the new moon earlier. For anyone watching, I apologize. That new moon on March 21st is not a total solar eclipse. The second new moon in Aries, which we're going to talk about, is. So that was what was special about it, and I got that mixed up. But based off what you're saying now and where we're moving forward, is I think we can marry together these ideas of artificial intelligence and technology and coming back onto the earth, and that can be something totally new. There can be technologies that actually enhance the earth rather than taking away from it, and these things are going to happen. In 2020, there was a timeline split. So this huge timeline, you could say, duality happened. And one of these timelines, if we were to be really succinct about it, is 3D. One of these timelines is 5D. You can look at it that way, okay? One of these timelines is, they're going to go so far away from each other at some point that you'll exist in the same room with someone and you won't even be able to see them or experience them because they're not in your dimension. Same thing that's happening now with all the spirits in this room, or extraterrestrial beings, or the Native Americans who were here thousands of years ago. I could tap in. You talked about that, tapping into different energies. Why would we need a phone if we could just tap into our third eye and receive any information and imagery and inspiration that we need? So you're talking about a concept which is in the progress of happening, and these are the energies that are doing that for sure. Now, as we move into April, there's a couple energies, and I'm going to start with the new moon in Aries, and I wish I had a date, but there is a new moon in Aries in April. It is a total solar eclipse, and it's very rare for us to have two moon phases like that in the same sign. So like in 2021, we had 2 full moons in Aquarius. That was unheard of. And of course we did. It was the year of Aquarius. It's like some astrological designer. It was designing all of this. There's so much synchronicity. But when we move into April, the energies are not going to calm. It's just there's not going to be as many new energies. We're really going to be feeling the effects of that Pluto in Aquarius and all of that buildup. Now, there's also an energy in April for those of you who are really into karma or healing past life stuff, working through karmic debts, and you're much more intentional about it, or you understand what's happening. Saturn and the North Node are going to harmonize in April. So in March, April, May, and June, you will have an opportunity, should you choose to, because it's Saturn sextile. Sextiles are not as powerful as other energies, so you would have to tune to that energy. That is really, if you want to talk about restructuring and helping you to get on your path, the North Node is your destiny. It's the direction that the soul is moving in, not what you should be moving in, but just the general direction it's moving in. So Saturn coming together with that can really reorganize, restructure, get you firmly rooted back on a path, which we may need with Saturn in being in Pisces. So know that there's a lot of, they're showing it to me like, I don't, okay, Harry Potter in the bank, those doors, when they would unlock the bank and all those hooks would come undone, they're all coming back. They're showing me in April. Like there's many things that are going to fall back into place that have been out of place since 2019. Let me put that in air quotes, out of place. Just been playing around in another area of yourself, or kind of like a Rubik's Cube, just found its way somewhere else for a time period. Any questions about April?
Mhm.
Okay.
Nope. All right.
So as we move into May, the main energy in May is Jupiter leaving Aries and going into Taurus, another huge energy. So we've got Saturn entering Pisces, Pluto entering Aquarius, Jupiter entering Taurus. This is huge to have those same three planets that fucked it all up 3 years ago. Okay. But actually, we should be thanking them. They're also going to be shifting signs and going into new energies for the first time. And Jupiter will be in Taurus from May 16th. It's going to go in on May 16th. And it will spend most of the year there. And Jupiter in Taurus is all about being very realistic. Taurus is about our basic needs being met. So when Jupiter is your belief systems, the way that you see life, it's your outlook, that higher perspective. It's really our collective belief systems, our ability to expand our horizons, long-term travel. With Jupiter in Taurus, there can be I like Jupiter in Aries better, to be honest, because there's more passion, there's more verve there, and our belief systems are really fueled by the ego. We know Taurus can be so logical and rigid, and also so simple about things that we may get into beliefs in 2023 that get real rigid, or come face to face with this not going after something because it feels too mystical or unrealistic or not practical enough. Notice that, because Jupiter does not play in the realm of practicality. Jupiter is about good luck, good fortune, abundance, wealth. Taurus is also about that. So there's a conserving energy in 2023. You may notice this tendency to want to conserve more. And I'm telling you, that tells the universe there isn't enough to go around. So be mindful of this lack consciousness, which may happen, especially from May until the end of the year. Now, I'm going to let other people research this if they want, but Jupiter is going to make a square to Pluto in May, and that's going to happen on May 17th. Jupiter makes a 90-degree angle to Pluto. The last time Jupiter and Pluto were in a really intense conversation was 2020, when they were conjunct each other. And anytime Jupiter and Pluto come together, this is what was interesting about 2020. 10 out of the 12 most deadly epidemics, pandemics, occurred during a Jupiter-Pluto conversation. So it was either Jupiter opposite Pluto, Jupiter conjunct Pluto. So it was right on time. COVID happened right on time. And having Jupiter and Pluto together and squaring in 2023, we may see something happen, some type of new strain or new virus altogether, something like that. This is the landscape that we're in now. These viruses are being fed by 5G, electromagnetic frequencies. So just know that these viruses do have to come to the surface and really awaken. I don't want to say that. Sometimes get a large amount of people out of their physical body. That sounds so bad. To make room for new energies coming in. That is not mine. That did not come from me, if I'm being honest.
Well, I think there's an understanding that a lot of people are using it as an exit, like the energy that's my understanding, is that the energy, as it intensifies, some people are like, I'm good. Like I'm not here for the new stuff. I completed my stuff in this cycle.
They want to come back after we've done all this. And that's not their ego. That's a soul density.
That's a soul level.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's a density thing. Like the level of density that is happening right now. Like it is so, like, other beings they don't even want to come into this onto this planet, not just because of
Right.
us, but because it is so heavy and dense
Right.
in these frequencies.
Yes.
So, and that is uncomfortable for them. It's also uncomfortable for us, especially those of us who are not from this planet. But Jupiter square Pluto could absolutely, that Pluto and Aquarius energy is going to be activated by Jupiter. Jupiter's going to come into Taurus, and then Pluto's going to be in Aquarius, and they're both going to be at 0 degrees, and they're going to activate each other. And so the Pluto and Aquarius themes make it set off by Jupiter as well, because he expands things. So just note that May is not when the party starts, but it's when everyone's going to start getting there. Okay? And there's many energies I'm skipping over. In June, Pluto will re-enter Capricorn. So on June 11th, Pluto goes back into Capricorn, and although those Aquarius energies are still going to be active, it's almost like a final act, a last-ditch effort. Pluto's going to say, let me go looking for a couple more things in your alls. Whatever Capricorn represents to you and to the world, banks, monetary systems, those upper world systems, the global elite Capricorn can represent. So let's unearth a little bit more before we're finally ready to go back to the future when Pluto goes back into Aquarius. And then also in June, Jupiter, Saturn, and the North Node, remember when I talked about karma for May, we're having this harmonious conversation. And then Jupiter and Saturn are also going to start to have that conversation, and then Jupiter and the North Node. So all three of them are going to come together. We're going to have this interesting dynamic between Jupiter, Saturn, and the North Node, which is going to be very odd in certain ways because it's going to try to bring our energy back in to focus us while it's trying to expand us. So there's a lot of movement there. But with Jupiter conjunct the North Node, there is a massive, like I said, after April and May, things just start moving much quicker than they have in 2022. 2022 had a sludge energy to it, okay? Like we're moving through something really dense. Or why are you all showing me that? Oh, I see. Like you're running down a hallway and it just keeps getting longer and longer and longer, like a bad dream. They're showing me Poltergeist when she's running down that hallway and it just keeps getting longer. There's that sort of experience is going to come to a close in the first 6 months of 2023. Then in July, Pluto's going to come into that conversation as well with the North Node. The North Node is getting hit so hard in a good way in 2023, which means our soul direction, our path, that sense of purpose is really going to come online and shift in 2023. This is why many of you feel right now, I thought I found it, but now I still feel like there's something else I'm supposed to move toward now. You're not supposed to move toward it now. You're just supposed to be where you are. It will happen. More the middle of 2023, you're going to see a big shift, and these changes you're wanting to make in your career job will more likely shift at that point. And then the North Node will enter Aries on July 17th. That's going to be cool. So the North and South nodes are going to switch out of Taurus and Scorpio and go into Aries and Libra. So our whole eclipse seasons will shift as well. And wherever the ecliptic points are, you know, like right now we're dealing with soul, past life themes and soul directive themes that are Taurus and Scorpio related. It's about letting go, holding on, conserving, releasing, surrender, all of those things. And then when we move into in the middle of the year into that Aries Libra axis, it's going to be all about you or them. So 2023 is going to push you, Juno in Aries, Jupiter in Aries, 2 new moons in Aries, to ask yourself, do I want to be on my deathbed and say, man, I was such a good person. I let all those people cut in front of me in line, and I let all of them go first. And I was so good for that. I don't think anyone's going to really feel that when they get to that point. They're really going to be proud of themselves for who they loved, what they accomplished, what they did, the inspiration that struck that they took action on and got what and manifested what they desired. You cannot manifest what you want by trying to tune to everyone else's energy. So this Aries energy is really going to be a game changer for us. And for those who are dealing with a lot of ego issues, working through a lot of big ego and doing ego work, it's not going to help you. So it's not going to help you dissolve your ego if that's what you're trying to do. If you really need an ego boost, it's going to give you that. Later in the year, we're really just going to be feeling minor energies, Venus retrograde, Juno going into this sign, that, and the other. It's not as many big planetary energies as we move closer towards the end of the year. We're just going to be sitting in those waves of energy that we had all. When you've got Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, these are outer planets, especially Pluto. When these planets shift into another sign, that party lasts for years, or at least with Pluto. Saturn being in Pisces for the next 2 years, that shift in experience and that reorientation can take up to 6 months. So just know that we're going to be feeling those energies throughout. I'm going to not include, these are all minor energies, and I'm just going to say from August till December, you're really going to be riding the wave and dealing with the energetic aftermath of Pluto going into Aquarius and then going, oops, tricked you, I'm going back into Capricorn, and then what that would feel like. And also Saturn will be in Pisces, Juno will be in Taurus. So you've got 2 of those planets in Pisces and Taurus, 2 energies that like to lay down, lounge around. So you're going to have this tendency to want to escape your responsibilities or focus on getting money just so you can relax instead of finding something you're passionate about. Choosing something simple out of comfort instead of taking a risk. There may be those things that show up in your energy, and then you've got all this Aries energy overtoning a lot of that. So whenever in 2023 you get a burst of creativity, use it, because it's not that it's going to be far, few, and in between. It's just there will be other times where you're going to be really asked to rest or to pull out of a more 3D or realistic physical way of doing something. And that might not require a lot of ego and a lot of physical exertion. So it's about following your body. Okay. And they're also, before I close this, they're really wanting us all to pay attention to relationships in 2023. Your relationships are so important to the next stage in your ascension and your evolution. Quality over quantity. And many of you are starting to become unafraid of being alone. And this does not mean that you're going to be. It means that your conditions are changing, your boundaries are shifting, and you'll still feel that security even if other people aren't physically around you or communicating with you in ways that you haven't before. And this is going to be really needed after what we just went through in the last couple of years. So this says, are there still people in your life that are in your life because they've always been there? I've known them since I was 10. She doesn't know any better. All that stuff that when you're 80, you're going to wish you didn't care about. You're going to say, man, I wish I had just kicked them to the curb and wished them the best and sent them love. Instead of this whole game I keep playing around, well, what if this? Maybe I should show up differently. And maybe sometimes things are just not right for you. It is really clear. It's not you trying to avoid something or this is hard and I need to. There's going to be so much confusion that lifts around your long-term partnerships and relationships. And many relationships are going to come to an end because many new connections are trying to take place. And you don't have enough bandwidth to hold the new connection until the other ones have been released. Not destroyed, released. Just let go of with love.
Yeah, I want to speak to that because I think it's a product of getting to know the self. getting reacquainted with the self, understanding who you are internally, and that inner work that you do across those months using all those energies, those things that don't serve will naturally fall away.
Yes.
It's just the tendency to want to hold on to what's been familiar, but it's letting all that go. It's going to happen naturally. It's nothing you have to do. It's a product of you getting acquainted with the self, knowing the self, doing the inner work, releasing everything that doesn't serve you personally, and then allowing the outside to flip, to adjust itself.
Before we do the raffle, I just want to say, because you said this is a reacquaintance with self, I love that because of the amount of Aries energy that we're going to experience. We always experience Aries energy at the beginning of the spring equinox, the beginning of the astrological year. But there's quite a buildup from other energies that wouldn't normally be in Aries at that time. So while tomorrow is January 1st and we can set our intentions and New Year's resolutions, that is truly, it should be like by the time we get to March 21st, we are really trying to reacquaint ourselves with self and taking the negative connotations out of that, and also knowing that everything has a flux, a season, and a cycle. And there might be times where you're really in your ego and you know what you want, and there's other times where you don't, because that questioning helps you to become more clear later, and letting that be. Yes, because ego is good.
It's like you get to know yourself and you realize that you already have everything that you sought outside of yourself. So it's settling into that place, knowing that you are already enough, you're already worthy. It's basically re-seeing, or letting the movie play out, where you get in touch with who you truly are. The true aspect of self, knowing that you are enough as a fractal of the source itself.
Yes.
You already have what you thought.
Aries says, I am that fractal. Instead of going, what's the big picture? Aries says, no, I am the fractal and I'm being me, because I have to really be me to really be here and to show up. And then we're going to have that Jupiter in Taurus energy. And Taurus is all about worth, self-worth, value. And so our belief systems and our value systems are really going to come together in 2023. So you may not see that huge exponential growth that you're really trying to work so hard for right now in your business or in your life necessarily in 2023. 2024 is going to be a little bit more of a boost in that way. But you will definitely have an opportunity to get really clear about what you want, who you are, and what you're worth and what your value is big time in 2023.
Yeah, I'm seeing that with my clients.
All right, I'm gonna hop in. I have a different definition of ego, I guess. I see like ego as being separation, and not that it's bad, but like to me, like the ego
separation
is the lost child, and when it surrenders, then it's like it has a home inside of the higher collective, and it's no longer acting in separation, it's acting in at one-ment. So you still have your personal identity, but it's not in conflict with the rest of the world. It is surrendered into the higher aspect of the oneness that you are. That's how I see ego. All right, we got me. Okay. So I have two pictures that I'm giving out. And if you're like, so art's a very personal thing. And if you're like, Kat, I love you, but maybe not your art, I'm okay with that. And so if you win and you don't want the art and you want to get a reading instead, my reading skills have kicked up. My cards have gone missing mysteriously. And now I'm just using the rods, my divining rods, to tune in, and it's been an incredible shift. So if you'd like a reading instead of art, great. If you want art, that is great. I got that too. I just want to give people options because art is a personal thing. All right, so I'm going to do both mine in a row. So this will be for Star Sisters. Star Sisters, can you hear that? It's an exciting sound. Star Sisters. All right. Catherine Morse, who left for lunch, but she was on. So Catherine, I will reach out to you about that for Star Sisters. That's cool. And then this is going to be for Shiga Aura reading. Oh, Oh, it's this one. Flew out. Lynda.
Yay! I always love working with Kat. I can't tell you.
So I feel like I should do. I'll do another one for a reading or something. I feel like I'll do another one since it's a co-host. All right.
And don't forget my bargain that I made before the show.
With the devil. I pulled Catherine twice. What do I do? Does she get both? I guess she gets both.
Yeah, I say give it to her. She won.
She gets both.
Right. Yeah.
Or 2 readings. Okay. All right. That's awesome. All right. So we only have like 30 minutes left. So we got 2 more raffles to go. We got Angela's and we got Rosetta's. But let's do like 10 more minutes. I'm sorry, Mr. Chrystopher. I know this is probably awkward to be like, go and stop and go and stop.
It's not.
But if you,
it's totally fine.
Okay. So if you give us another 10 minutes, we'll do another raffle daffle.
Well, that was really the completion of 2023.
Oh, okay.
We don't have any other major energies like that. You could call all some of the outer planets. I really just wanted to give an overview of some specific energies that don't happen all the time, that are more rare and are more influential on a collective level. But I'm very excited about 2023 with Jupiter being in Aries and Taurus, because Jupiter moving through Pisces for much of 2022, there was a confusion and an illusion that rolled in. And there were a lot of ideas and dreams and hopes that were not very realistic, but we got to play there. And so there was also a lot of escapism with that. Okay, Jupiter's in Pisces right now as we speak. Jupiter has already gone back into Aries, excuse me. But while Jupiter was in Pisces again, just in the last part of 2022, we returned back to that kind of calm point. There's a silence at the end of Pisces energy. And it's a deafening silence. It's very still, it's oneness, it's completion, it's the end, if you will. And then Aries represents the Big Bang, like a new universe is born. And from that is this egoic masculine force which pushes energy forward. And so there's a lot of movement that we're going to see in the coming year, but there's also a re-downloading of, like, what do I want down here as well as up here, because we will all respond to these energies differently. And when energies are calling you back into focus on yourself, that does not mean that you're not in awareness or caring about the other. It means that you're rebalancing that. Aries is opposite of Libra, the scale. So that balancing point, Aries pulls that back and is trying to pull you back into you, so you can be a complete character in this virtual reality instead of this glitchy, see-through holographic thing that you are, because you haven't slept and you think you're going crazy because you're going through ascension symptoms and you've got trauma resurfacing. You're giving all of your tokens and coins to the other people out there, not only because you want to keep them around, but also, what if I'm alone? Where's my life going? Who am I turning into? There's a lot of ego death happening when Pluto is doing its thing. So in 2023, you will be called to face aspects of yourself around money that you don't like. There may be beliefs that you have around being wealthy or being or having enough, that if you get down to it, you actually don't believe you should have that. But you've got to do the work, and these things are going to come to the surface in a way that they haven't quite yet, especially on the economic side, because so much of that is being triggered by Pluto and Uranus, because Uranus is in Taurus right now. And the last time Uranus was in Taurus was during the Great Depression. So Uranus being in Taurus from 2019 until 2025, that is a complete renovation and innovation of our basic needs: food, shelter. I mean, just in the past few years, you've seen an increase and huge spike in vegan foods, technology using technology in food production that's actually better for us, and definitely this major chaos that Uranus can bring around our housing market and shelter where we'll live, these sorts of, and our monetary systems, because our monetary system is shifting, and the worth of our dollar is going to shift in ways that we've never seen before. And this is going to be an adjustment period over the next 3 years. We're all going to have to go with it sometimes, because in our modern time, it's not like the Great Depression where we didn't even have bread and there's tumbleweeds blowing down in the wind, and you've got dirt. I mean, there's so many pictures I've seen of the Great Depression. I'm like, okay, let's not compare it to that, because that was awful. Okay. That was absolutely awful. We've got housewives and Whole Foods, and like all that's still going to be there while we're going through this Great Depression, because we are going through one. It's just being hidden. Like, it's being faked, because during the first Great Depression, you couldn't just type 0 on your typewriter. So now that I can put 0.0000, we can do anything we want. They're acting as if oil's expensive. They're acting as if these sorts of things are being hidden, but you'll notice how affected everyone is by the idea of money and spending and all of that right now, especially in a time when we should be creating vision boards and pulling it all in. It is time for us to contract a little bit, and as a collective really face our fears of not having enough, this lack consciousness, this keeping ourselves from abundance due to low self-worth. We can't escape it anymore.
I just want to say here on that. That's what has been happening with me and my collective, is that they're just walking me through, like, that's a belief. That is a understanding that's not real. Like, that's a construct, and being able to show how rich and how abundant everything is if I choose to embrace that as my experience, and how the more I play with generosity, the more I have to give. The more I play with richness, the more rich my experiences are. And that, like, this can be the new norm, because we are creating from the quantum. If you're still trying to play, like, that's why I say, and I'm not dissing on the ego, but like the ego in separation wants to play in 3D and pull things in and be like, oh, I have to hang on to that. Oh, I'm afraid to give that up. And like, there's all of this drama, and the 3D in a place of repose within the collective is able to let go of things and embrace new things, and still have its mind blown and still have its own individuation, but it's in a chorus and not against the rest of the world. It's in a response to loving the world, as opposed to trying to protect itself from the world. And it's just a much richer experience.
Yes, and I agree with you on that. And although we know that that's where we're heading, and that is not how it should be, but how it could be. And the ego, for many people, they still don't have a firm grasp of when it shows up. Like, for me, I talk to it, and it's not all the time. I don't always catch it, but there's a lot of times where I can separate myself from it and know when it's happening. And some people don't even really understand what ego is truly at a psychological level, or psycho-spiritual level. And so many people, because of that, to kind of rebalance this energy, this kind of martyr, give it all up for them at the end energy, has to that's very Pisces energy. Jesus fed all those people with 2 fish, and Pisces loves to hang itself on a cross. Feel sorry for me. I'm a victim. You put yourself there because you said, I'll do it for you all if I have to. None of that anymore. Let's balance some of that out. And so you will see an increase in ego for a while. But think of it like flipping a mattress. We're just trying to even out. A lot of these people are going to start expressing more ego. And yeah, it might be toxic and there might be aggression and separation, but just giving them that time to play with that because they've been so selfless and so not in their wants and desires, it may happen that way because
they're checking out
we're
the other
human.
side of they're going to the other side of the pendulum, of the
Yes,
spectrum, where
yes.
they're like, okay, I've been over here. Now I need to check over here so I can find my
Yes. And
balance in the
sometimes the
center.
soul does want to experience that really that experience, and it wants to have a multi-dimensional experience. So it's not about getting it right, but definitely I agree with you that dissolving ego and ego death and all of those are necessary parts of your spiritual awakening and ascension process because they allow you to merge more with who you really are. But taking that ego with you, not shaming it, but definitely bringing it along, allowing it to catch up, allows that which you're pulling in from the quantum field to be drawn in with much more clarity and taken action on and pointalized and received with much more fullness if the ego is on board and not just fighting the world around it, but not fighting your desire and the momentum your soul's trying to move forward with. So it's about harmonization between the ego and the higher self, but we're talking about something that should naturally happen with just meditation. So you don't need to do anything.
I was just going to say, one of the things I'm seeing with my clients is that boundaries keep coming up. Rediscovering and uncomfortably stating boundaries. And for a lot of people, that's really new. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of people wanting to work on. And what I heard was when you honor the boundaries, you give permission to expand.
I love that. I love that. Well, actually, that makes perfect sense if you think about it, because how can something expand if it has no boundary? Like, how can something expand if it has no
form?
Beginning and
it's
ending
just like
point? There's no
gelatinous
form.
and
So when you said that, it was like, yes, filling in the holes of those boundaries gives you we're going to go into geometry now. Think of it like a ring around you. This ring is real solid now. We're very clear on what we won't put up with, what we will. We're no longer afraid of being considered a bitch. We actually welcome it and enjoy it because we understand that that's their word for especially a feminine energy that's very in its power. That's just a word they have for it now. I'm not going to be afraid of that anymore. Those are examples of what I hear a lot of times. If I lived like that, people would think I was a bitch. And I'm like, but wouldn't you be happier? I know, but then I'd be one of those people that like people didn't like, and she was really selfish and she only liked herself. And people get in these mind games with themselves about what things mean, what they believe about something around that. And it's really important for me in the work that I do to try to get people on board with taking the initiative and taking all these energies that we just talked about during this time and really doing something with it that is transformative and powerful. And when you talk about boundaries as well, it takes a certain amount of ego to hold boundary. And I'm not going back to that necessarily, but it also, especially if you're highly sensitive, empathic, your boundaries are already more gelatinous because they're designed to be. Okay. And really, I should say your aura and your energetic field. Your boundary is something you create. Okay. You create that, but for many people, they don't understand when it's happening, when it's being activated. They're not in tune yet. So it may take several years of practicing this. But yes, once those holes are filled in, you can expand because you have intention and you're able to use all of this information. And really, they keep showing it to me like a gate around you that absolutely pulls in energy and spits out energy, but it does not waver and it doesn't change. So I think the main one of the other main goals of 2023 would be to become extremely clear, or you may find that you do this anyway, becoming extremely clear in what your boundaries even are, because we hear that, but a lot of people couldn't even write down 10 things that they require. They're waiting for it to happen in the moment instead of it being like in relationships, there's certain things that the minute you say, I want a monogamous relationship, you're not going to enter into a relationship with me. I have Juno in Aquarius. It's never going to happen. So do you understand what I mean? I will no longer let it continue to go on, because I think maybe they'll change their mind, or maybe. I'm just going to be very clear here, because the more clear I get, the less static on that station. And the more I can really pull in clearly what I want, instead of this person, again, I'm just using that as an example, who comes in to challenge the boundary, not to punish me, but to strengthen it even more. It's you. It's what she said earlier about actualizing self. That's what that is, because your boundaries are an extension of yourself.
Yeah,
Right.
it's boundaries, extension of your
You all
self-love.
are
Go ahead.
people are totally fine letting someone like, you wouldn't let someone come up and slap you, but you would let them be rude. I wouldn't say let, but it's more acceptable for someone to be more verbally disrespectful than coming up and slapping you, and again, these are things we've all decided upon. And again, that's a boundary, because if someone came up and slapped you, you'd look around at everyone and go, can you believe what she just did? Because we all should agree that that was bad, right? But if she came up and said, move, bitch, get out the way, you'd let it go. Or, it's not the same. It's really not the same to us, even though you could decide that it is for you.
Well, and it would depend on, if you're going to get attached to somebody else's weirdness. What were you going to say, Miss Angela?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I just have a different perspective on boundaries. I think it comes down to where you want to resonate heart-wise, right? Because your heart resonance is going to draw to you a reflection of itself.
Good point.
It always comes back to the self and doing the inner work. I don't feel like there has to be a true establishment of external boundaries, because my heart resonance is dictating what I'm drawing to myself. So as I do that inner work on myself, I don't have to externally establish a boundary, because that's being driven by the external, right? I prefer to be driven internally. So I'm doing the inner work so that I don't even draw that to me. Right. Because really, if I'm drawing it to me, it's just showing me a different perspective of self. And so I know that there's some more work that I need to do on myself in order to prevent what I'm seeing, because I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I know it's a reflection of me. I got to do that inner work in order to establish that. So the boundaries can be seen in many ways, right? But I don't prefer to see it as an external thing that I need to prevent or defend, or to establish events around myself. It comes from the inside. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna hop in. We're gonna do the last two, and so yes, and then we'll close up the show. But this has been so good. I mean, what a great conversation. And also, I believe it was Oprah Winfrey who said, when people say, oh, she's so full of herself, she's like, yeah, I want to be so full of myself, I'm overflowing, so I have enough to give to everybody. So, being full of yourself just means that you're rich. You're a full, rich container that has a lot to give. So, all right. So next we've got... I can do this one-handed. It's Angela. So Miss Angela, tell us what what of the lovely people won today?
The lucky chosen one will receive an ancestral light language activation from myself. And I really can't tell you verbatim what that will be. It will flesh itself out in a way that is needed for you, but I do a collaboration, my team, your team, we get together and to see what you are ready for or ready to receive in that moment. So it's a lot of conversation. There may be some singing, there may be some light language, there may be just some discussion, there may be some energetic work that takes place, but it's all for you. And there's no time limit on this. So it's going to be me and you for a time until we're done.
That's so beautiful. All right, here we go. The winner is Brianna Wortman, won again. Brianna is a double winner. We have 2 double winners today.
Awesome.
That's the
Nice.
power of buying multiple raffle tickets, everyone. And so now our next winner is going to be winning. We have 2 lovely bracelets of your own custom design from Rosetta, who's been on our show. She was here last week talking about her stuff. Lynda, do you want to be our necklace model? I think that
Yes, they actually are long enough that you can wear them as a necklace. So I chose to wear mine as a necklace and love it.
it's
So
beautiful. It's
thank you,
just
Kat. It's my Christmas present from Kat. Love it.
And then Mr. Jason, are you also wearing yours? Are you a
I
neck
have
model
mine on.
today? You're not?
It's just my neck.
Oh,
I don't have
well,
it on.
that's sensual enough. Thank you for that. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Did you have yours on, Miss Angela?
I don't have it on.
All right. Thank you for being our lovely neck model, Miss Lynda.
You're so welcome.
And we have 2 of those that we're giving away. So let's do number 1. And that is Angela. Angela, you won. So we're gonna pull a second one.
Nice.
We keep getting double winners, but again, the power of multiple raffle tickets. All right. Somebody who hasn't won, please. Thank you. Pat Cates. Pat, I think you might still be watching the show. Pat, you won. That's awesome. All right. Pat Cates won a Rosetta original. And then one more. And Amanda, my friend Amanda, who none of you know her, but she's been one of my dear friends for the last 10 years. Lynda knows her. And I lovingly, emotionally blackmailed her into buying raffle tickets in a very supportive way. And now she's a winner. So it's to her benefit. Yay!
And she's all into affirmations, so that's perfect for her.
Yeah, that is perfect.
And I actually, if I won anything, and actually I was going to do it anyway, but I'm giving away, so you have to draw one more.
Oh, great.
A essential oil of frankincense for Christmas.
For baby Jesus.
Yeah, frankincense is so wonderful.
One fell. I'll go with the one that fell. Lorelei won. Yay! That is fantastic. We are winning.
Yay!
Fantastic. All right. Well, let us begin to wrap up the show. I want to say thank you to Mr. Chystopher. I'm going to put us into Brady Bunch view. Chystopher, what is your final word from your beautiful heart to the people out there today?
Thank you all so much for having me on here. I appreciate this space. I appreciate you all sharing this space with me. And for those of you who felt like I was speaking gibberish the whole time, please reach out. I'm sorry. I know that it's another language, and some of it may have gone over your head, but if you have questions, please feel free to reach out, let me know. Also, I have a coupon code for all of my services of Salon 2023, SALON, all caps 2023. If you are interested. And also, if you want to find me on social media, there is TikTok at the.astromedium, Instagram, the same, the.astromedium, and I'm on Facebook, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. But if you have questions, please visit my website, theastromedium.com, and just feel free to reach out, send an email, book discovery call. I do retreats. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And they can do a free discovery call with you, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can do a free discovery call to see what works for you best. And then, Mr. Chystopher, if you will send me that discount code, I'll put it in our links down below that I have with your links. And I should have all of Chystopher's.
When you say send it, do you want me to send it in the chat
I just
here?
posted it in the
Oh, look at
chat
you.
as well.
Salon 2023. Easy peasy. Thank you, Miss Lynda.
I got it
Okay.
right, I think.
And if it doesn't work for some reason, I can just reach out to me directly because sometimes those coupon codes are weird on there, but it should be fine.
Okay, that's perfect. I'll drop that in there as well. And then Miss Lynda, I'll toss the mic to you.
Everyone, I am so grateful that you chose to spend your day, your 2 hours with us. It's just a blessing to have you all here. And I look forward to our journey next year. I just feel great growth inward and outward. Maybe on a roller coaster, but we're on the ride together. So thank you for being on there and sharing and screaming and laughing all the time with us. And again, check the links below if you want to work with anyone. They're all down there. Thank you for the coffees, the participation in the raffle. Yeah, I just can't say enough. Thank you, Kat, for putting this together. And 2,000 viewers. Let's go back to that. We hit that.
Oh yeah, 2000. Yeah, celebrate that. Thank you. Good point.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody, because it wouldn't be possible without you sharing. Happy New Year. And Kat, I'm going to turn it over to you to find out what's happening on our next show.
Yes, next year, next year, we have Eric Unger coming in from Austria. And Eric has been like a member of the salon, you know, as a community member over the last year. But he has had some of the wildest experiences. He's been going through this. He's definitely like one of those souls, like one of those fucking irritating people where you're like, oh, I meditated for the first time, had an out-of-body experience, met an alien, blah, 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 like the very first time. So he's somebody who's done that work in other lifetimes. So like in this lifetime, when he started getting into meditation, just shizzle was popping left and right. And he's had Men in Black experiences. He's had experiences with being experiencing himself as a gray on a ship with a bunch of whales that were in transport. He's had experiences with grays showing up in his house astrally. He's had experiences of becoming, you know, experiencing the oneness of, you know, the one source being. Just all of these, like a near-death experience, but while still being alive. Just loads of experiences. So that might be a part 1 and part 2 because wow, wowza. But I'm very excited. Like we've said before, there's so many people in our community that have their own nuggets of rich nuggets to share. They're each just these beautiful gems. So one of the things we will be doing in 2023 is member highlights. I haven't quite figured out that yet, but we'll be doing member highlights to discover more of our rich tapestry of the people that are part of our community so we know each other better. And with that, I will say thank you so much. It's been an absolute blast to spend the last 2 hours with you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Chystopher. Thank you, Miss Amanda, Miss Angela, Miss Lynda, and Mr. Jason. I appreciate all of your energy, love, and enthusiasm over this last week for today's show. So thank you. Everyone have a great 2023. We'll see you in the new year, and be oh so kind to yourself. Bye.